Hi, welcome to Geekatplay Studio. In this tutorial, we'll learn how to create a floating island. It's actually not very hard, and we think you'll find it an imaginative creation with an interesting and unusual look. At the beginning, we'll just start our project and we'll select our soft background light. The reason why is because we want a nice ambient light so that we can see all the details above and below. We can change the settings when we finish to achieve the look we're going for. So we'll select that one, and let's right now go to edit our atmosphere, and let's put the sun a little bit up front at around 234, so that will be helpful. It'll be ahead. Let's move our camera a bit above the plane, because when we start to create the island, we want to see how it's floating in the air. And right now, we need to create our terrain. And in terrain, let's go to edit this, and you can use a default, but what we're going to do now to make it look a little bit interesting is go to our brushes, and inside the terrain, let's select, let's see what we have here. Let's select this one. Crack 4. It's maximum, medium softness, and flow max. Now let's just create maybe like a round, irregular kind of structure here. Grow it up. And this is about how you want it to look. What I like is that you see how they go. They look kind of rough, like stalactites that have grown up. But we can also maybe erode, or if you want, you can add some stairs. It's up to you, whatever you like to do. This will be the under part, the ripped out root of our island. Okay. And now we need to turn it upside down. There we go. So we'll kind of preview it right now. You'll see that now we have this edge right here. Looks very squarish. This is actually very easy to fix. So when we go right here in edit mode, we'll just enable clipping, and this will just make the zero altitude of the terrain go up. And now if we look right here, that edge has kind of disappeared already. And we have something that looks more like the shoreline of an island. Now let's just go create the top, and for the top we'll just create a new terrain, and again we'll select edit object, and for now we'll just use this one, except I'll go ahead and clip this up so it looks kind of like this. Click OK, and one thing you'll notice, it's a little bit bigger than our bottom, so what we'll do is we'll just decrease it a little bit, and here this is where your personal preferences come into play. The one thing you need to do is to make sure that this top is smaller than your bottom part, and I'll show you why here. We'll add rocks and stuff around the edge to smooth it out. Those will go on the top, so it's easier to cover up imperfections on the top than on the underside. So let's go see. We add this one, and you can see it's kind of interesting around the edge. Let's click our terrain right here so we can preview, and that's about right. So maybe one thing we want to do, a little adjust here. The one thing that is important is to preset them in the altitude and position we want them to end up in, because when we start adding the ecosystem and using the terrain brush to add stuff, the objects that we'll start adding there will stay in one place. They won't be linked to the terrain. Then we'll have the problem if we move it afterwards, that they just stay right there. So I think this is a good place here now. And let's start spraying on our landscaping here. It's actually the ecosystem painter, and here are some rocks to add. The one thing we want to make sure we select restrict to selected objects and make sure that bottom island is selected. Otherwise the things we spray on would end up on the ground plane below. We'll make it this size. So we'll start putting our rocks on. If you have a problem, see if your limit density is unchecked, because if you have the maximum density and you try to add more, it won't let you. So we're just spraying it all around. And some of them, you notice, seem to be sticking out in midair. It's just that there's part of this island that we can't see, and it's okay. It will turn out pretty good. If we take a quick look at this right now, you'll see how the edge has become a little smoother and interesting. And now we'll select the top terrain and maybe decrease the size of the rocks a little more. And let's spray them on the edge again. And we'll just add a little more here. Spray around. So here's another look at our project. And you can see how it's developing nicely. It helps a lot if you add some grass now. So let's go to the plants. We'll add plants, and I like this long grass here. That is an option you need to purchase from Cornucopia. I modified it a bit to make it a little longer even, but this is based off that long grass from Cornucopia. I really recommend that one. I use it all the time. It looks great. And it's very universal. You can make grain from this, crabgrass. You can make it look like a lot of different kinds of grasses. So we have our grass here, and let's maybe have the scale on 7th, and we'll just start spraying grass here. Here's little grasses popping up around. I wish it were this easy to grow grass in real life. A little bit more here. Okay. Let's select the bottom terrain, the island. If you notice, it always went only on the top because we had that restrict selection enabled. So now we're just adding it onto the outcrops of the bottom. So let's have a quick preview. Oh, there you see, it already is looking very interesting. The rocks you see appear to be almost falling off the edge, maybe only held on by the roots of the grass. Now the other thing we can do is change the textures for the top and the bottom. So we'll select the terrain, edit materials, and let's select maybe something like desert stones or something a little darker, and we'll make the top the same material. And you look, it already looks a little better here. The other thing that's interesting to add is roots, but we'll do that in a second. I want to show you this. If you select both terrains and we move them, see here, this is the ecosystem just floating in the air exactly where it was placed, no matter how we moved the land that was holding it up. So now we'll go to create the roots, and there we'll just select trees, and inside in the collections you'll find some good trees to use as roots. The winter pear will do nicely. So here's the tree, and we'll move it up here and rotate it around and place it just where we want there. Okay. And now we're going to modify it a little bit. We'll increase the length to make it look more like roots. We'll increase the gnarl and the diameter and the fallout, or just playing around with it to get the look we want. Of course, your own personal preferences will come into play here. But it does now add something interesting that's going on here, the way the root is sticking out of the ground here. And let's go ahead now and add a tree. I do like to use this Soneratia. It is again an additional item from cornucopia, but it has an interesting feeling of high altitude trees, so we'll put it right here. Get it placed just where we want. And let's change our view to user defined. And we'll make it a little taller so we can see this better. And now let's move our camera a little bit. Okay. And we'll move it this way. And maybe a little slightly off center for nice proportions in the picture. There you go. So if you preview it now, here we're already getting this effect of the floating island with roots, and we have a tree and rocks on the edges which are almost ready to fall down and squish someone under it. So don't walk there, it's kind of dangerous, but we can't really walk under it now. Can we? Because it's in the middle of nowhere, literally. So now let's go here and let's make another terrain. And let's increase the size here. And let's make it a little bit flatter. Okay, maybe a lot. And let's give it there. Let's give it a ground look. And we'll put some trees right here. And then instead of the ecosystem, I actually like to use a painter because it uses less polygons and you can spray it where you want, so you have better control. So now we'll just add the cherry tree. You can use any tree you want. We'll decrease the size. The reason is because we want to give it a look of distance. So we'll spray it around here a little. Okay. Spray it all around where the camera can see it. And now we have a ground down there that's coming up. There. And we'll have a quick render. Now we see it's coming up and our picture's starting to develop a little better. I think though we want to change the material in this ground terrain to something greener, some vegetation, so that it will match. So now it's a good time to bring in our atmosphere to see which one you like. There's several options. You can go with a hot desert look, which is a high contrast and hard to see, or I like to use something with a little more haze to add more distance to the trees. But of course this is up to you, and you choose what you like. Try them out and play around with it a little bit. I do recommend that you have something with some ambience. And the ambience is just so you can see details on the bottom, or you can add an additional light source. And here you go. Here's our render. It's almost coming up. What we have here is kind of a distant forest floating below, or a distant forest below this floating island. You can put a mountain in the background or add other details, whatever you want to do. Just kind of play around to get the look you want. You know, you can wonder why the island is floating, but changing out the atmosphere can really change things a lot, as you'll see. And these clouds, these storm clouds, add something even different. So thank you for watching this tutorial from Geekatplay Studio. We hope you found this informative and inspiring. If you want some more tutorials or resources, please visit our website. It's at www.geekatplay.com.